What's going on, everybody? It's Professor Zeus, and I'm back with another video. If this is your first time on the channel, just know I greatly appreciate you. Why don't you go ahead and hit subscribe? We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. We are taking the humble route. Today, we're looking at a clip of a woman. She's reflecting on her life, and she's regretting, you know, not going through a hoe phase when she was younger. And you did hear that right. And I'm all about giving people their flowers, for being real and authentic. So respect and shout out to her for putting her thoughts out there. The link to this video is going to be in the description. Give her some love, whether you agree with her or not. But we're going to unpack this because it's bigger than just her take. It's a cultural conversation, and I've got some thoughts, some fair, some critical, and a little personal reflection. So let's dive in, okay? So, the gist is, this woman's looking back saying she regrets not having the whole phase, that time when you're just out there wilding out, sleeping around, living that carefree life. And, she's older now, and let's just see what she has to say.
Regret not having a hoe phase.
In high school, we were indoctrinated to save it for marriage. They're quote unquote worth the wait. Yes, I missed out on the hoe era because I was too focused on sleeping early. Do people not hook up over brunch?
So hi, I'm 32, I'm bisexual. I've dated men and women. Consider this your internet older sister's take on this hoe phase issue. So I actually had a prolific dating phase when I was in my 20s, but not a hoe phase. And I low-key regret that because you're young and full of energy. This is the time for you to do everything, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, safely, of course, and only if you want to. And whatever it is that you're doing it with people you have mutual respect with. Queen Cher has also said this before in a clip I watched of her. And when she was young, she was bad, but she wished she were worse. I guess I missed out on the whole era because I was too focused on my skincare routine, sleeping early, and all of that happens at night, right? Do people not hook up over brunch? What I'm trying to tell you here is that I'm not any better than people who have had a hoe phase. The whole purity culture robs you of a lot of human learning experiences, not just sexually, but also in relationships. Other than obviously our autonomy, it takes away from us the chance to explore our own sexuality, our own self, exploring your own needs and preferences in relationships. I mean, it's such a taboo topic, but the reality is how you want to be loved and made love to matters very deeply in relationships. It doesn't revolve around it, but you can't lie that compatibility is an important factor of togetherness. And even if somebody said, me and my spouse saved ourselves for each other and it's magic, you're an exception. For a lot of people, it takes a lot of trial and error for us to find that in relationships. And there's nothing bad about that. In fact, we would all be in happier relationships if we knew what we wanted out of it and if we knew when to go if it's not giving that. I mean, there is a reason why we were able to relate to Tinashe when she said, is somebody gonna match my freak? The reality of relationships is that it has to serve the needs of both people within it, or the 3 or more people in it if you're into that, not just the man, if there ever is a man. Of course, it can definitely be your choice to save it for marriage, whether you're a man or a woman. However, 2 things can be true at once. The bigger picture, purity culture reinforces oppression of women and is still centered around the benefit of men. Men have also been shamed for being virgins, but isn't just that the other side of the same coin? Women being shamed if they are sexual beings, and men being shamed for not conforming to that. So many people who have come before us have gotten trapped in marriages with people they don't like and have zero chemistry with because they were told that the most valuable thing about them, defined by men, is their body. If you look into the history of purity culture, it also taught couples that when they are doing the deed, a woman's pleasure isn't the priority. In fact, it's not even on the agenda. Under that concept, we're just vessels for baby making. I'm not saying either are better between hoe phase or saving it. I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else who had a hoe phase. Saying that however you want to live your life should be for the intention of knowing yourself and not to please nor put down other people. In high school, we were indoctrinated to save it for marriage. That you are quote unquote worth the wait. Isn't that so telling? Our worth is based on us saving it for marriage. That was the whole message. They even gave out bracelets. We had baller IDs with that phrase written on it. You had to give it to them. They really had this whole campaign of trying to make it cool. All I know is I got into trouble because because one time they were telling us in class, this is going to be your future gift to your future husband. And I was like, well, what's his gift to me? And the reality is, purity culture was built to control women's bodies. Boys never received this same message and this same intensity growing up, the same way it is systemically used against women. And women aren't just judged for being.
Okay, so I'm gonna link, like I said, I'm gonna link the video, excuse me, to the description. First off, I want to say I respect her honesty. It takes guts to admit this publicly, especially when it's not the perfect narrative we're used to hearing. But where I have to pause is this really something to regret? Like, what are we actually trying to glorify here? And I'm coming at this as someone who's been, married for over 6 years now, and shout out to my wife. She's a real MVP. And I'll just be honest with you. The idea that you missed out by having a hoe phase, that's not the exception. That's not an anomaly. It's a lie we've been sold. You see, Western culture, especially, has adjusted its norms to make this nonsense that she's spewing sound empowering. And this is literally all women across every culture touched by this mindset. We've romanticized chaos and called it freedom. Now, we can blow this up a little bit bigger. If you're a young dude or a young lady watching this, middle school, high school, hear me out. You don't need a hoe phase. I don't send, when my kid gets older, I'm not going to send him to, go chase girls or anything like that. I mean, hormones are real, obviously, and I get it, but you're there to learn, to build something for yourself. My son is going to understand that he needs to focus on that. And I wish personally that I would have been 100% laser focused on my goals when I was younger, because honestly, there are women I engaged with back then that I regret even giving time to, not because they were bad people, but because they pulled me off track. Time I could have spent being focused, grinding, hustling, I spent chasing. And the flip side of that is, what does a whole phase even really get you? You're not missing out on some golden experience. You're dodging trauma, diseases, people using you, and putting yourself in a compromising spot you can't unsee or undo. And that's not a flex. That's a burden. And then what? You carry that baggage, compare every future relationship to it, and raise your standards based on experiences you shouldn't have had in the first place. It's a mindset that sets you up for failure, right? Look at the stats. There's so many single parent households that are skyrocketing, right? And a lot of it ties back to this, right? Why do you feel that it's necessary for you to go through a phase where you're just messing with so many different people, right? I remember I had a cousin before I got married. He was asking me, and he's been married for a long time himself, but he was like, are you sure that you want to be married to your wife and things like that? He was kind of relating to it like a traditional Nigerian dish. Like, he's like, are you comfortable eating? Mind you, he's married. He's like, are you comfortable eating the same dish all the time? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I like this dish, so I'm choosing this dish. You know what I mean? So it's just people who've actually built something, success, a family, a legacy, they understand the importance of family. Okay. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say is, I respect this woman for speaking her mind. Vulnerability is no joke, but wishing that you had a whole phase, nah, right? Like, that's like wishing you had a broken leg just to feel the cast. You don't miss out. You dodged the bullet essentially. And real quick, I don't know. Let's just stop hyping chaos and start valuing focus, purpose, and real worth, right? But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's talk about it. If this hits you, drop a like, share it with somebody who needs it, and check out all my other videos. Subscribe if you haven't already. It's You and I Verse for a reason. I teach you, you teach me. And we both take what we taught each other and learn from each other and apply it to what's going on. That's the only way life can go on. Until next time, peace.